This past weekend, we had UFC Fight Night Dern versus Jan at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. Fun little card. Quite a handful of great finishes, fun finishes. Let's go down this card. Let's start with the main event. Xiaonan Yan defeated Mackenzie Dern by unanimous decision. The scores read 48-47. Oh, no, that was written wrong. Not unanimous decision. Excuse me, majority decision.
Majority, yes.
One judge had it 47-47, and the other two judges had it 48-47 for Yan. Omar, let me throw it over to you first. Who did you think won this fight? What's that?
I said, sorry, was that me that wrote that? My bad.
No, that's all good. Who do you think won the fight, and what were your takes of the performances of Jan and Dern?
So, I do think it was a draw. That last round, Mackenzie Dern basically had control for 4 minutes and 30 seconds of that round, and it's hard not to. At least in my head, it would be difficult not to give that girl a 10-8 based on that performance in that specific round. As far as her overall performance, this for me has, I think, been the difficulty with Dern is, I think, like most BJJ players, their inability to take people down. When you can't take somebody down and your whole game relies on being on the ground, you're left with this transitionary period that is essentially just a hole to be exposed. And that's exactly what Jan did. She was able to keep Mackenzie Dern off of her, and in keeping her off of her, she was landing strikes, making Mackenzie Dern look ridiculous in a lot of exchanges. You know, making Mackenzie basically look like she had no base. She wasn't even defending herself properly, just kind of flailing all over the place. There were a few moments where she looked like one of those wacky waving inflatable tube men. There were too many solid moments from Jan's defense and not enough tightness from the takedown of Mackenzie Dern for that fight to have gone the way that Mackenzie Dern wanted it to go. What we should give credit to is Jan's submission defense as well. Having actually gone on the ground with Mackenzie Dern at any point in that fight is essentially a death sentence for most women in that division. The fact that Jan was able to be down there more than once, and we can argue, we can go into that 10-8 round and give Mackenzie that 10-8 round, but the reality remains Jan did not get submitted in that round. I don't think she deserves to win a fight by not getting submitted, but at the same time, that is a big feather in her cap that a lot of other women in the division may not have to say the same. But I did have it 47-47. The last round being that 10-8 round made all the difference. Kind of sucks that wasn't the case in general. Looking online, it looks like most people do also have it as a draw. So, sucks for Mackenzie Dern. She looked like she took that loss pretty hard. It probably does set her back a little bit.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, I mean, listen, she's popular. She's very, very good at what she does. Her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game is elite, to say the least. So I'm sure she'll be back stronger next time.
Mark, how did you score the fight?
I tend to agree. This was a fun fight. It was a tale of two styles, as we expected it to be. Whenever it was on the feet, Jan was winning, even though Dern hung tough. And whenever it was on the mat, Dern was winning, even though Jan hung tough. I think the rounds were pretty clear in terms of who won them. Mackenzie wins 2-5 when she was able to get things on the mat. And Jan wins 1-3-4 when she was able to keep things standing. The questions, the controversy come down to exactly what Omar brought up, which is should round 5 have been scored 10-8 for Mackenzie Dern? And I get that Jan wasn't like badly hurt or necessarily in terrible danger. Like she was in danger of getting put in a sub, but she was never in like, oh man, she might tap type of danger. So I get that. But I tend to agree with Omar. It was 4 minutes and 15 seconds of complete and total control. And the strikes were 97-15. That feels like a 10-8 to me, which would make it 47-47. I give Mackenzie Dern a lot of credit. because she looked very discouraged after round 4. Perillo was telling her that she had to go for it, and boy, did she ever go for it. Like, that takedown that she got to start round 5 was pure will, because she was half losing her grip on that takedown and just powered through it because she was like, nope, I need this thing on the mat if I'm going to have a chance here. And even in her loss, Omar said this too, her jiu-jitsu is so damn beautiful to watch. She's so good. It's like she's floating in there when she's transitioning. But on the flip side, I heard them say after the fight that Xiaonan is a white belt. Like,
Oh,
girl,
Jesus.
not anymore. You're not a white belt anymore. Like, that was instant brown belt, at least.
Yeah.
Like, to be on the floor with Mackenzie Dern for 10 minutes and not get tapped is wildly impressive for a white belt.
Yeah.
Like, in a way that makes no sense to my brain. I don't even understand that. Which is why I picked Mackenzie to win the fight, because I knew there would be times that it hit the mat. And I figured Jan couldn't survive for that long when it did.
Same.
And she spent 10 minutes surviving down there. So I give her a ton of credit. I hope she's getting promoted at least one belt, if not multiple. I'm not even kidding when I'm saying multiple belts.
Uriah Faber said she's getting a promotion.
Okay. And yeah, Omar's right. Dern did seem to take it hard. I know that's really a discouraging loss for her. I do wish she at least got the draw. It would have kind of been like a, what's that word? Something victory?
Moral
victory. Thank you, Christ. That at least she gutted it out and won that 5th round 10-8 and left there with the draw instead of a loss would have been nice. But she is still getting better. You can see her striking's improving. She is super tough. We know now from these recent fights that she can take shots. Like, there's more to come from Mackenzie Dern. And I honestly think the next step for her would be adding power to her ground strikes, specifically incorporating elbows. Because all her ground strikes right now, as much as it was whatever I just said, 98-17, all her ground strikes right now are for setup. Her mind is 100% jiu-jitsu all the time. And on top of that, her punches don't carry a ton of power. But with the control that she has on the ground, and with how worried her opponents are about being submitted, if she could mix in some big elbows, which are a lot easier to generate power behind because you're throwing your body with them, I think it would change a lot for her because you're already stuck under her. If you want to focus on not getting tapped, like, okay, here comes a few elbows to the dome. If you start thinking about those elbows, boom, armbar. Like, I think that opens up a lot for her in terms of being more dangerous on the ground. And I think that could be the next evolution of Mackenzie Dern, potentially. So I'm sure there's more progress to come from her, but for now she gets turned back and a huge win for Xiaonan.
I would actually say the kicks are probably something she should probably work on. Every time I see a Brazilian, and your boy does this probably the best out of everybody who's a pure jiu-jitsu guy. Charles Oliveira, the champ, is fantastic at this now, where he utilizes his kicks and his knees, and he doesn't give a shit when he uses them because what are you going to do?
Good point.
Catch him? Take him down?
Too.
Go for it. And that's how Mackenzie Dern should be throwing her kicks. Especially look at who she's working with. She's working with the god of kicks in Luke Rockhold. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know if she has the power to make them a weapon. Like, she doesn't seem like she has natural power standing.
yeah, but the kicking is one of those things that it comes from technique. And if you're just kind of throwing your kicks up there and not really turning your hip, which I will tell you firsthand is not fucking easy to do. If you're not super flexible, there's a lot of power that you lose in not kicking properly. And so it's not a faster kick. The faster kick is just, throwing it up there, making the contact, kind of hitting the side of the person. But a true, like, power kick goes across the belly. It goes horizontal, not in a diagonal direction. So if Mackenzie Dern is just throwing kicks, even if they are the fast kicks, strong kicks, leg kicks, whatever it is, not only are you, throwing up points on the board, but at the same time, you're putting pressure on the person to be like, you got to respond. And how are you going to do that? Because we're either going to strike here and I'm going to use my kicks to keep you at distance, or you're going to catch something and take me down, in which case you just did my work for me. So if she's not going to get improved on her takedowns, she's got to find a way to force people to take her down so she can play her game. Because what she just did in that Jan fight, that's not it, man. She can't do that again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously number one improvement would be if she could get better at taking people down, of course. But, like, that's a lot harder to do. If she could tweak the two things we just said in the meantime, I think it could help. Mackenzie, bring us in.
Girl needs to call Damian Maya, man. She needs to give that boy a call and be like, listen, give me a crash course on some of the Damian Maya.
I don't know if he was great at taking people down either.
He was decent at it. I fucking love
Damian Maya. He was decent at it.
He was decent at it. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artists are not great at it at all.
No.
Damian Maya adapted well enough, especially in his time, to take some people down.
Yeah. But I think she's got to go full. She's got to go full Charles and just get rocked. Let herself get rocked, and then let her opponent climb on top of her, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm fine." And now you're in a triangle. Let's talk about women's strawweight real quick. Mackenzie Dern, her last two losses were to, great strikers in the division, that being Marina Rodriguez and now Xiaonan. Omar, where do you think Dern goes next at women's strawweight?
I mean,
on that matchmaker hat.
Mackenzie Dern's got some good losses or good wins on her record, but she's also got a few losses on her record, especially to the women who are kind of working their way up to the top of this division. At this point, I don't know if it makes sense to give her somebody in front of her. I think it would make sense to give somebody a shot behind her at this point, especially with the performance that Xiaonan had. I think the momentum kind of goes with her. So with that in mind, I think you probably give somebody who's had some solid performances, maybe give her a shot a little bit further up in the rankings. Maybe Mackenzie Dern versus Virna Jandiroba would be an interesting fight, especially from a stylistic standpoint.
Mark, any other names at 115 pounds you'd throw out there?
Yeah, she's kind of tough to match up. Kind of because of what Omar just said, like the above her, she doesn't really deserve to be fighting right now, coming off a couple losses. The below her is not really at her level, it seems, so it's a little hard to put her in there with someone. I thought about Virna as well, but she actually beat her a couple years back, so I was like, do we run that again? Where I landed is that if Amanda Lemos loses to Marina Rodriguez, maybe you go that route, but I don't really love that either.
That'd be interesting too.
So I don't know. She's tough to match up right now. I also thought about giving the winner of Angela Hill and Emily Ducote a shot against Mackenzie Dern, but nothing feels perfect.
Yeah, that'd be another interesting striker to match up with her in Angela Hill.
I had no idea that they fought already like 2 years ago. The day before my birthday at that.
Yeah, man, I don't remember that fight. I had the same feeling as you. I was like, wait a second, what?
Okay. Xiaonan Yan gets a huge win of her career. Mark, sticking with you, where do you put her next at 115 pounds?
I'm going to go Rose.
Oh, wow.
Jessica Andrade would also work, but Rose needs an opponent. A lot of these girls are booked, and I think the striking exchanges between Rose and Yan would be really fun. So that's where I'm going to go.
That's great, too. I also like that Xiaonan brings a little bit of new blood to the very tippy top of 115 pounds, which has gotten a little stagnant. Omar, agree, disagree? Any other suggestions?
Mine was Jessica Andrade, especially after watching the performance against Mackenzie Dern and the takedown defense that she did have in some of those moments, most of those moments in the fight. I think it'd be interesting to see if she would have the same success over somebody who's a wrestler as opposed to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist trying to take him down. So
nice. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a near lock that it will be one of those two women. I don't really see where else you could go with Yan.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on. In the co-main event of UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Yan, in the welterweight division, Randy Brown defeated Francisco Trinaldo by unanimous decision, 29-28 on all three judges' scorecards. Omar, let me start with you. What was your take on Randy Brown getting it done over the ageless wonder, Francisco Trinaldo?
So there were a couple things I noticed in this fight. The first of which was Randy Brown looked enormous next to Francisco Trinaldo. Absolutely enormous. Yeah. Trinaldo looks wide as shit, but Randy Brown just looked bigger.
Remember, he's a career lightweight, and Brown's a big welterweight.
Yeah. Randy Brown is just a monstrous human being. It was great to see Randy Brown though perform. I've been high on Randy Brown for quite some time now. I love his ability to manage distance. His teeps and his front kicks are fantastic. I'm glad that he has that length and knows how to use the length, and he's not just a fucking waste. Dude, I can't tell you how annoyed it is when I see somebody with all of this like physical cheating in their body, and they just don't use it. They just don't know how to use it.
You weren't a fan of Stefan Struve, huh?
No.
He knew how to use it in his grappling, but he certainly didn't know how to use it on the feet.
He didn't know how to put his chin down either. But we're not gonna do that to Stefan.
We've been down this road before.
He didn't do nothing to nobody. But it was a great performance. I thought Randy Brown was cleanly kind of picking him apart throughout the rounds. Trinaldo tried to find his moments. He tried to close distance as much as he could to, try to nullify what he could. Didn't really work out, I think, the way he wanted it to. Randy Brown was really good everywhere. I thought his striking was fantastic. His defense, I thought, was also really, really good. I thought it was a solid performance, man. I didn't really hate it. I think if I was being honest, I think I gave the third round to Trinaldo, if I'm remembering it right.
Yeah, I did too.
And I wonder if that probably had to do a little bit with the gas tank at that point. There was it got pretty high paced from the first round for 170-pound guys. But damn, it was a fantastic fight, and I'm glad to see Randy Brown back in the mix again. We need some consistency because I really think that kid has real potential to go far in that division.
Mark, what was your take of Randy Brown getting it done by UD over Trinaldo?
Yeah, he looked good. He looked smooth as he has been lately, and he fought smart for the most part. He didn't put it on Trinaldo in quite the way I thought he could, considering that size advantage. I really thought he could do something more dramatic in there to Trinaldo, but I got to give Trinaldo credit. The guy is amazing. He finds a way to hang in there with everyone he is ever in there against, no matter how high level that they are. Like, he's got a who's who on his resume, and he's kept every fight close. He just battles. He's a smart fighter. I think he's smarter than we realize. He finds ways to press his advantages in fights. But Randy Brown did take round 1 and round 2. The front kicks were a big weapon for him, as Omar said. He landed that one huge shot in round 1 that dropped Trinaldo, which was big. He did also have the egregious fence grab in round 1, which kind of sucked. Right. Yeah. And Anik had a great line where he said the ref needed to take out his testicles and take a point. So who knows how that would have changed the fight if Trinaldo could have gotten a takedown there without the fence grab, and then maybe Trinaldo wins rounds 1 and 3. So we will never know. But from what we did see, Randy Brown looked like the better fighter. He certainly did enough for the W, and I'm glad he keeps moving here because I'm a fan of Randy Brown.
Well, with this win over the 44-year-old Trinaldo, Randy Brown now has notched, I believe, 4 wins in a row. Mark, where do you think he goes from here at welterweight?
So this may not be a popular selection, but I thought about it, and I love it. I've been dying for Randy Brown to get a crack at like a big name and kind of break through here. I think he deserves it. I don't know if Tony Ferguson is staying in the welterweight division.
You're terrible.
If he is,
you're terrible.
If he is, that's where I'm going. Simply because, A, he's a name. I think it's hard for Randy Brown to get a name right now because a lot of these real names are in the mix to fight each other, like in the way welterweight is. Tony's not in the mix to fight anyone right now, but he is a name. Also, I want to see Randy Brown in a dogfight against a guy who's not going away, who's going to keep walking at him. And as much as Tony may be down a level, he still is that guy. So I think it does some things I want to see Randy Brown in there across from. I figured you'd hate it, but that's where I'm going.
I absolutely fucking hate it. I absolutely hate it. We're just talking about how he made Francisco Trinaldo look like a Lego piece, and you're going to put fucking Tony Ferguson in there with this scarecrow. Are you absolutely out of your mind?
Tony's bigger than Trinaldo.
Trinaldo's only 5'8".
Yeah,
Tony's
Tony's like
6 feet
4 inches tall. Isn't Tony 6 feet tall?
He's either 5'11" or 6 feet tall, I think.
Okay, and his reach is definitely more too. Yeah, his reach is only 1.5 inches shorter than Brown's.
There you go. Randy Brown is 6'3".
Get
At
off
welterweight, it's
me,
pretty big.
Omar.
This is terrible. This is a terrible
1.5 inch reach
matchup. Terrible
advantage
matchup.
instead of 8 inches on Trinaldo.
All right.
Omar, where are you going?
I want Homeboy to crack into the top 15. I'm going with Michel Pereira. Give that boy a psycho.
Ooh.
Let him see if he can crack.
I did think about that matchup, and it's a great one. But the reason I didn't do it is because I was like, I feel like Michelle also deserves a step up. So, like, I didn't want them to have to fight each other. But I'm down. That would be a great fight.
Okay, let's move on. In the bantamweight division, Raoni Barcelos defeated Trevin Jones by UD. Scorecards rating, 30-27, 30-27, and 30-25. Mark, why don't you take this one first? I believe you picked Barcelos to defeat Trevin Jones. I foolishly took Jones. Give us your assessment.
So way back when we did our first practice episodes for this show on recordings that have never seen the light of day, I remember describing Raoni Barcelos as a top 15 bantamweight without a number next to him. Now we're a year later. He's had a couple bumps on the road, and somehow it still hasn't happened for him. He has never cracked these rankings. But that guy, the guy that fought on Saturday, that guy is a top 15 bantamweight. He can do it all. He does it all so damn technically. He's dangerous on his feet. He mixes it up. He hits with power. He's a 5-time Brazilian wrestling champion. He's a nasty grappler. The dude has every tool in the bag. He's already 35. The run didn't happen a year or so ago when it felt like it was happening. As I said, he hit a couple bumps there. He had a tough decision loss to Valiev that people thought could have gone either way. And then he ends up getting beat by Victor Henry, who debuted against him on short notice, which was wild. Victor Henry's fighting next week. So a couple bumps in the road. But that dude that just showed out on Saturday is the guy with the talent of a top 15 bantamweight. As I said, he's 35. I still think he can do it. I think maybe we're getting one more run right now. I was really encouraged by how he just fought.
Omar, what was your assessment of Barcelos getting it done at 135 pounds against the talented Trevin Jones?
I mean, I thought he looked good. I will say the fight ended up being more entertaining than I thought it would be. I had no high expectations for this fight. You may remember my comment being meh either way. I didn't have high expectations for this fight, but I will say Raoni Barcelos definitely mixed it up a lot better than I thought he thought he was going to. Trevin Jones ate a lot of shit in that fight, though. I mean, he ate a lot of damage in that fight, and Barcelos really put it on him. It was a solid performance, though. You know, I can't take anything away from him. I still don't know if it was, you know, the most impressive performance I've ever seen. I don't think I'm on the hype train the way Mark seems to be on the hype train right now. But it was a good fight, you
know. Omar, taking a look at the rankings for bantamweight. Where do you think Barcelos goes from here? Excuse me, Barcelos.
So let's take a look. So the one thing that was fun about Barcelos is his pace and his ability to mix things up, especially if he's going to be consistent with his ability to change between the striking and the wrestling, the way that he did in his last fight. Makes him very interesting. So if I'm going to go with somebody at this point, we're definitely going to go with somebody in the top 15. Why don't we make it interesting? Let's go with some Jack Shore. Jack Shore sounds like a very interesting fight. From a pace perspective, I think that's going to be 100 miles an hour for 3 rounds. I think it'd be interesting.
Okay, Mark, Give us your pick here.
I almost went Jack Shore myself. I could absolutely see that getting booked. I went a little different route. I agree he's got to fight a ranked fighter. Pedro Munoz is still pretty high in the UFC's rankings. I think he's like 8. I don't have him quite as high. I think I have him at 11 or 12. Dude has been losing some lately, but that's where I ended up landing. Shore works. I think I'd prefer Munoz slightly, but ranked fighter is where I'm at. I think he deserves that shot.
Yeah.
And let's go because he's 35 and he's just going to kind of break it in now. I say let's shoot him up there.
Yeah, they have Pedro Munoz at 8.
Yeah, I don't get how you have him that high still. I really don't.
All right, boys, one more to discuss and break down, and then we will jump into our lightning round. And here we go. Okay. Where's this fight? Brendan Allen, that's right. Brendan Allen subs Krzysztof Jotko in the first round. Mark, why don't you go first? Give us your take on your boy, all-in Allen's middleweight crushing of Jotko.
Brendan Allen, baby, let's go. That performance is why I'm so high on this guy. He is a big, strong, athletic dude who is dangerous everywhere the fight goes. It's a nice package, and it's starting to come together more fight by fight. He comes out, he lands a big body kick on Jotko right away. He slips, Jotko ends up on top of him. He ends up reversing the position, getting on top. Jotko does get up. He powers him down with a takedown again. As I said, he's a strong dude. Gift wraps Jotko, compromised position, threatens the arm triangle, makes Jotko turn to the back, just perfect step by step. Arm goes right under, chokes him out. Like, it was light work. You cannot do better than that against a fighter as good as Krzysztof Jotko. And that's exactly the kind of performance that Brendan Allen needed to kind of reignite his run here into some bigger fights.
Omar, what's your take of all-in Allen getting it done? Making quick work of the talented Krzysztof Jotko.
Yeah, so I thought Jotko would be able to get it done just because of his technique. And I thought it would be more of him keeping Allen off of him more than anything for 3 rounds. That went out the window real quick. The ground game, once Jotko got to the ground, I think you could see immediately that he wasn't comfortable there. And I say that because the reaction as soon as he hit the ground was he was in half guard and immediately goes to shoulder pressure and just stays using shoulder pressure, not trying to pass, not trying to cause damage, consistently holding the position but not really doing anything with it. And it didn't seem like it was because he didn't know what to do. It seemed more like because he couldn't really leave that position without potentially losing it completely. And so there seemed to even still be with Jotko in the position that he was at, Allen still presented some sort of danger from the bottom that Jotko felt. That's my take anyway. When it comes to that reversal, gorgeous reversal. He snuck. So while Brendan Allen is on the bottom in this half guard position, he also has something called a lockdown in place. A lockdown, if you go online, you go to YouTube or whatever, basically all it means from a positionary standpoint is from the bottom, he has essentially a figure 4 with his legs wrapped around one of Jotko's legs. Usually, whatever the inside leg is at that time. So in this specific situation, I think it was Jotko's left leg that he had in the lockdown. So he has a lockdown, and that lockdown causes a lot of pressure. It causes the person on top not necessarily be able to move to a different position, right? If Jotko wanted to go to side control with the lockdown in place, he's probably not going to be able to do that. So it does limit people in that area, but it also limits the person on the bottom as well, because a lot of times they can't move from that position without letting go of that lockdown. So there's a little give and take there. You have to kind of know how to use it. Brendan Allen did a beautiful thing where he had that lockdown, was able to bait that lockdown and had Jotko thinking about it, and then immediately explodes his hips up and over and rolls Jotko right onto his back and keeps the control once he performs that reversal. It was a beautiful, beautiful reversal. I think it's probably as textbook as it gets. It was really impressive that moment. And then just like Mark said, they ended up getting, to the position in the cage. They were standing up. And then Allen ends up getting a beautiful body lock and almost it's essentially lateral throws him right onto his back and just kind of works from there right into the rear naked choke. And that rear naked choke was almost instantaneous. There was no room for adjusting. That was in. It was 1, 2, skip to my Lou. He was done. It was beautiful performance, man. I got to say I was impressed. I don't think I'd ever been as impressed with Brendan Allen after as much as I was after that performance. So hell of a performance from him. I might be on the train now.
Okay, Mark, at 185 pounds, there are a lot of bookings right now. So how would you thread Brendan Allen in there?
Agree. A lot of bookings. After the fight, he called out a couple people. One was Anthony Hernandez, which does sound fun as shit. I do want Brendan Allen to fight up, though. I feel like he deserves to fight up. The other one he called out was Andre Muniz. I would sign up for that. It's a great fight. If they also want Muniz to be fighting up, rather than both of them having to fight each other when they're kind of at similar points, I think you could put Allen in there against whoever ends up losing between Jack Hermanson and Derek Brunson. That way he's kind of across from a bigger, more established name.
Total, wow. Wow, at Derek Brunson, that would be a huge step up. Even Hermanson, for sure. Omar, you have any other names you'd like to see at middleweight for All-In Allen?
Yeah, it's so crazy, right? Because everybody's booked definitely up until the end of the year, one way or another for the most part. I guess realistically, I would just tell you who I'd want to see from a stylistic standpoint fight Brendan Allen. I think a fight with Jack Hermanson would be very telling. Jack Hermanson is very well-rounded, I think. He's a very, very strong individual. High up on the rankings. I think it would be interesting to see what Brendan Allen can do there.
Yeah, man. I like it.
Yeah, same page.
All right, boys. Let's throw the rest of these fights from UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Jan, into our lightning round. Okay, in the featherweight division, Sadiq Youssef defeated Don Shanis by guillotine choke at 30 seconds of the very first round. Omar, go first.
That guillotine choke was mercy, as far as I'm concerned, because the knees that Shanis was eating up until that point was infinitely worse than that guillotine was. Or rear naked choke. Guillotine?
Guillotine.
Yeah. Solid performance from Youssef. Congrats on him getting his first sub of his career. That was a picture-perfect performance.
Mark, give us your lightning take.
I mean, Sadiq Youssef was supposed to run through Don Shanis, and when you're supposed to do it and you do it that easily, it's always nice. I mean, talk about light work. That one was light work. Sadiq Youssef is a great fighter. He's a dangerous man. He was supposed to fight Giga Chikadze, which is obviously a huge fight.
Huge.
So hopefully that one gets rebooked, or maybe he even gets Chan Sung Jung, who he called out in the post-fight, but would like to see Sadiq in a big one next.
Okay, Mark, staying with you. In the lightweight division, Mike Davis looked good against a talented striker, Vyacheslav Barshev, taking the fight by unanimous decision. The scores were 29-28, 30-26, and 30-26. Give us your lightning take.
Yes, Slava just does not have the requisite wrestling to hang with talented guys at this level, unfortunately. He's 1-2 in the UFC now. If I am the UFC, I am matching him up with a striker in his next fight, though, because as much as he doesn't have the wrestling, that man's striking is unreal. And it's intriguing enough that I'm trying to make sure he hangs around and doesn't pick up another loss here to give him some more time to work on the wrestling and the grappling in his game. Because if he can get it up a level or two, his striking is crazy. So I'm putting him in with a striker next, hoping he gets a W. As for the winner, Mike Davis, he looked great. He hung on the feet. He went back and forth there when he needed to, but you could tell he was a little bit outgunned, and whenever he started to feel that way, he was like, all right, we're going back to the ground. So he did a great job mixing it up. You figured that that's what he'd be able to do against Borshev because he does have that deficiency. And Unless I'm mistaken, I think Mike Davis's only career losses are Sadiq Yusuf and Gilbert Burns, which is pretty legit. So he could be a guy to watch as he starts to move up here.
Omar.
Yeah, I would agree. Mike Davis definitely utilizes wrestling more than his striking. But I think the fact that Slav couldn't really do anything about it is kind of why he did. I don't really blame him for it. I think in the third round, he got a little winded. He definitely worked hard for 2 rounds, so you could see the results of that in the third round for sure. But he definitely did enough to win those first 2 rounds, without a doubt.
Okay, Omar, sticking with you here. In the lightweight division, Joaquin Silva knocks out Jesse Ronson, or rather TKO, with a devastating knee followed up by punches. The official time, 3 minutes and 8 seconds of round number 2. What'd you take, bud?
Yeah, man, what a fight! This was a pretty solid fight. Definitely kind of pretty back and forth for the most part up until that sequence in the end. When he hit him with the knee, man, that was a vicious knee, and I didn't know if he was going to keep going. And he didn't even go out right away. There were some follow-up strikes involved that he had to go through. I'm glad the fight got called when it got called. But Jesus Christ, I mean, that knee was problematic, to say the least.
Mark.
As Felder said on the broadcast, Jesse Ronson was kind of outstriking and outpointing Joaquim Silva for almost that whole first round. And then Silva switched his stance. And from that point on, Ronson couldn't figure out the looks. The fight changed on a dime. He froze Ronson I did say it right. I don't know why I thought I stumbled. Multiple times. He almost got him out of there at the end of round 1, and then he finishes him on the back of a filthy same-side flying knee, which you don't see every day, in round 2. So nice finish for Silva.
Okay, reaching back, I missed this one. I skipped over by accident. At a catch weight of 140 pounds, Daniel Santos defeats John Castaneda by knockout. 4 minutes, 28 seconds of round number 2. Mark, give us your take.
I love guys who fight like this kid. Like, that was Charles Oliveira light in terms of the striking experience. Not he doesn't have the grappling game, but he strikes just like him. Just taking damage, getting dropped, and choosing to say, nope, I'm still here, and when I get up, I'm just walking right at you even though you keep dropping me until I break you. And that's exactly what happened. It was a really impressive stoppage from Daniel Santos. Filthy knee. Literally just turned Castaneda off almost like on a delay, and the ref was like, wait, yep, he's gone. Like, it was a real nice finish for him.
Yeah. Omar.
Dude, that fight was madness too, man. The pace that those two put on was absolutely absurd. Smaller guys, whenever we see guys in like those 125, 135, 145 pound divisions, the pace they can put on for as long as they can put on is absolutely absurd, and this was definitely no exception. Fantastic finish, but I think the pace from both guys really needs to be talked about a little bit more, because that fight would not have been nearly as entertaining had these guys not been scrapping 100% from minute 1. It was a fantastic performance.
Okay, also at a catch weight of 140 pounds, Chelsea Chandler absolutely bullied Julia Stolyarenko, finishing her by TKO at 4 minutes and 15 seconds of the very first round. Omar, give us your take of the female fighter fighting out of Cesar Gracie's gym in Stockton, California.
Yeah, this one was fucked up. This one was a little mean. Like, this seemed like a bigger girl just bullying the hell out of another girl. Every time, Stolyarenko tried to come inside, she just was getting cracked left and right. Her face was red in every bit of it. The ground strikes were absolutely devastating. There was not a point in that fight where Stolyarenko was winning, going to win, looked like she might be in a good position. I mean, it was bad. It was bad everywhere at all times for Stolyarenko. Hell of a performance from Chelsea. I mean, that's what you want. That's the performance that you need in the UFC, and credit to her for getting it, because Jesus Christ.
Mark.
Yeah, I mean, that. Chelsea Chandler is a featherweight who was scheduled to fight Leah Letson. When Letson fell out of the fight, Stoliarenko took it on short notice. They agreed on a catch weight of 140 pounds, so they are normally a weight class apart. Chandler did say after the fight that she can make 135 and that she's willing to, depending on the booking, that she'd like to fight in both weight classes. I guess she has to say that because she knows UFC barely has a featherweight weight class, but she did call out Norma Dumont at featherweight. But yeah, I mean, the expression is to get big brothered. Stoliarenko got big sistered in that fight because, I mean, she just got bullied the whole time. So a really nice debut for the latest UFC product from the 209.
Okay, one more, boys. To open the night for UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Jan in the bantamweight division, Omar's boy, Guido Canetti, gets it done over the very talented Randy Costa by submission via rear naked choke. The official time, 1 minute and 4 seconds of the very first round. Mark, let me start with you this time.
Wow, we're not starting with Omar?
Well, I'll let him take it home.
I'll let him take it home.
Fair.
Madness.
That's fair. Randy Costa, that may be the end of him in the UFC.
I know, he's talented, man.
I'm right. I mean, he came in with the power stash for this fight too, and it didn't matter. I mean, the guy has an offensive game. He just unfortunately seems to be a bit too easy to hurt or submit or whatever the hell you want to do to him. But Guido jumped on him right out of the gate, sunk the choke in. I guess it was crazy deep. He didn't even have hooks. I guess Costa thought he didn't have time to even try to fight it. Tapped right away. And 42-year-old Guido Canetti's got a little streak together.
He is the most jacked, best-looking 42-year-old you'll ever see.
I mean,
Yoel Romero
Yoel
might be a
Romero.
little.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, maybe I'm partial because he's my tribe.
your
Omar,
what?
take it home, buddy.
Partial because he's your what?
He's Italian.
Is he?
Isn't he Italian?
I thought he was from Argentina.
I mean, Argentinian. That's what I meant to say. Sorry.
I thought he was Italian. Oh, damn it. They're going to kill me in the comments again. Son of a
Yeah,
bitch.
I'm pretty sure he's Argentinian.
All right, buddy. Take
Look,
it home.
you
Your boy.
saw the name Guido and you just assumed he was Italian.
Yeah, I thought-
Get
I
him,
don't know why.
YouTube.
Yeah, he's
I don't know why.
Argentinian, man. Argentinian.
God damn it.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say.
Keep it in. Keep it in. Hey, keep it in.
I said Colombia for a second.
So, the boy, Guido Canetti, baby. Let's go. Yeah, I like Randy Costa. Both of those I'm big fans of both of those. They made it super easy for me, though. As soon as I saw Randy Costa's stash, I was like, you got to lose because that's not it. It's not it.
It's not it.
No. He had a whole Dr. Robotnik thing going on, and I wasn't feeling it. So I was glad to see Guido Canetti have a great performance. Apart from the choke, I definitely want to point out the timing on his leg kicks because he did it twice. And if you notice where he was kicking, he kicked the rear leg of Costa. So on a kick where Costa was throwing something, whether it was to the body or to the leg, Guido was able to take advantage of those moments and actually kick the back supporting leg and put Costa on his ass. The second time he did it was where he was able to rush him and grab the neck and the subsequent finish from there. But the timing on those leg kicks, I think, is absolutely fantastic. The one thing that freaks me out about Guido, and I think will always freak me out, is his stance. He has such a wide stance. And I know he utilizes his kicks. I mean, none of the kicks he threw were soft kicks. Every one of them was thrown with 100% power. Yep. He relies a lot on his kicks, which I think is why he has such a wide base. But if he's going to ever face a wrestler, or somebody who enjoys taking people down, that wide base is going to kill him at some point. And I hope he adjusts when necessary. But for today, fucking Guido Canetti, baby. Let's go.
Wait, did we skip Ilir Latifi?
Now that you said that out loud, yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Yeah, he wasn't in the show notes.
Fuck, I made the show notes and I left him out. Wow.
It's all good.
Ilir.
Give us a quick take. Give us a quick take of.
I'll say it now. Yeah.
Heavyweight Ilir.
Ilir looked really good. We said it. the dude's impossible to take down. Oleinik was going to have problems. It's really hard to take Ilir Latifi down. But I was impressed by how well he wrestled, how willing he was to be on top of Oleinik. I don't know that I expected him to feel so comfortable going that route, but he did it quite often, and looked really good and pretty much handled Oleinik the whole way. So yeah, that was a big win for Ilir, and I would say is a win that's kind of starting to legitimize him as a real heavyweight contender, which I don't know that I expected when he first announced that he was moving to heavyweight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Omar, did you want to give an Ilir take quick?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm sold on Ilir being a real contender as of late.
I don't mean a title
will
contender.
say-
I mean like a guy who could be ranked one day.
Yeah, I will say I had a lot of confidence that Oleinik would be able to find a submission in the time that he was given, because I did think that Ilir was going to give him that time. I figured he'd want to take him down. I figured he'd want to play around in the guard a little bit more than most people probably would against Oleinik. And while I was right about that, Ilir did a fantastic job in his defense, because he didn't give Oleinik any opportunity to really sink in anything that was going to cause him to tap. So good on him, man. I didn't think he'd be able to do it for the 3 rounds. I thought Oleinik would be skilled enough to get at least something in within those 3 rounds, but didn't do it.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot Ilir. That was fucked up of me. Sorry
It's
about
all
that.
good.